Now at 5, Joplin police are asking for the public's help to identify this burglar. Plus, if you still have some leftover holiday trash, we're going to tell you what can be recycled and what cannot. And
a high-stakes meeting in Mexico City. I'm Nicole Skanga at the White House as top Biden administration officials urge their Mexican counterparts to help drive down border crossings.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
A Joplin medical clinic is offering $1,000 to anyone who can identify a burglar who broke in on Christmas Eve. This is KOAM News at 5. I'm Dow Quick. It happened the early Sunday morning at Gardner Express Care at 1701 West 26th Street in Joplin. Surveillance video shows what authorities believe to be a male suspect breaking glass and entering the offices. Authorities say that person did steal some prescription medications. Now police are asking for the public's help identifying that suspect, and Gardner Express Care is offering a $1,000 reward to whoever does. The Ottawa County, Oklahoma jail has been without water since Friday, and the sheriff's office now says that's because they're replacing the jail's plumbing. They're replacing the hot and cold water lines as well as replacing the boiler with tankless water heaters. Officials say that's because of the high cost of repairing the lines in the past and having to regularly replace that boiler. A lot of people have called the jail regarding the water situation, but the sheriff's office says the state and inmates were all notified the water would be temporarily shut off. They expect hot water to be back tomorrow. For a lot of families, Christmas comes with gifts, and gifts, of course, come with wrapping paper. In Pittsburgh, the SEK Recycling Center offers residents the opportunity to recycle materials that would otherwise go to the landfill. In addition to wrapping paper, cardboard, white styrofoam, and bubble wrap are items that can also be recycled.
Christmas time is very, very busy around here. Usually starts a week or two before Christmas gets here, and then afterwards, as you see, we start getting a giant influx of wrapping paper, cardboard galore.
There's even more recyclables at this time of year, so of course we don't want it going to the landfill. We need to preserve that as long as possible.
Now, when it comes to wrapping paper, it's important to make sure there are no ribbons, strings, or other plastic-based items on it. Tonight at 6, we're going to learn how to differentiate wrapping papers that can be recycled from those that can't. Let's check in with Chloe Arroyo now for our first look at the weather.
That's right. We've been seeing some snowflakes here and there, not enough for those snowball fights. Here's a look at this low pressure system right now. It's pushed off to the east and further south. A couple of our further eastern counties are still seeing a couple of those flurries, especially a little further up north. Stockton, probably seeing a couple more flurries. However, our temperatures are just a hair above freezing, which is keeping the accumulation levels at a minimum, if at all. And so thankfully, our road conditions are pretty clear right now. However, if you're going out after the sun goes down and those temperatures go below freezing, that's when we're going to keep an eye on the travel impacts. Coming up in a bit, we'll talk about the snowfall timeline heading into the rest of this week, as well as below freezing temperatures and your New Year's Eve forecast, all coming up in a bit.
We'll catch you in a few. This week, an estimated 6,000 migrants began a journey north through Mexico headed to the U.S. border. President Biden dispatched 2 members of his cabinet to Mexico to discuss migration with Mexican President. Nicole Skanga has more details now from the White House.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas huddled with Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador to discuss the flow of migrants at the U.S. border. As many as 10,000 migrants a day have approached the border this month, straining resources. Most are coming through Mexico from Central and South America. López Obrador has called on Congress to pass an aid package to support the countries the migrants are fleeing.
Republican lawmakers are demanding tough new border policies in exchange for more aid for Ukraine and Israel. For months, the Biden administration has been trying to hammer out a deal.
In a CBS News poll out this month, voters ranked immigration as the second most important issue facing the U.S. López Obrador predicts migration concerns between the two countries will only grow during the 2024 presidential election.
In our own
own backyard.
Former President Trump, who may face President Biden in the upcoming election, released a new campaign ad in New Hampshire focusing on the border. Nicole Skenga, CBS News, the White House.
Michigan's Supreme Court today says it's keeping former President Donald Trump on that state's primary election ballot. In the decision, the court said the challenge to a state appeals court ruling was considered but denied because the justices were, quote, not persuaded that the questions presented should be reviewed by this court, end quote. Legal experts say the battle over Michigan's ballot could be revived if Donald Trump becomes the GOP presidential nominee.
The Michigan Supreme Court and the lower court in Michigan was fairly clear that this is just about the primary ballot. So expect this to come back for the general election.
Last week, a divided Colorado Supreme Court cited the so-called insurrection clause and found Trump ineligible to be president because of his role in the January 6th attack on our Capitol. That ruling is likely to be appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. Still ahead, how new advances in treatment of metastatic breast cancer are helping patients live longer. Plus, what a new study shows about the quality of care after a hospital is bought by a private equity firm. Topping today's Health Watch, while a breast cancer diagnosis of any kind is life-altering, a diagnosis of metastatic breast cancer can be especially devastating. But as Dr. Malika Marshall reports, new advances in treatment are helping patients live longer and healthier lives.
Valerie Frank was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer in 2018. Despite multiple surgeries, chemo, and radiation, 2 years ago it returned and had become metastatic, meaning it spread to her bones, liver, and lungs. The 52-year-old wife and mother of 3 teenage girls was crushed.
It was absolutely terrifying. I was in a state of panic for months, just paralyzing panic.
Fortunately, there are so many more treatment options available for patients like Valerie compared to just a decade ago.
It used to be patients were living for about 2 years. Now the median survival is up to 5+ years. So it is dramatically different, and that is because we have so many new therapies that are available for patients.
One such therapy is antibody-drug conjugates that act as smart bombs by directly targeting the tumor, sparing healthy cells, and reducing side effects.
We have seen the most number of approvals for metastatic breast cancer in the last 3 years than I have seen in my entire career over 15 years.
Unfortunately, over time, cancer cells learn to outsmart individual drugs, so it's important to have an arsenal of options. Valerie has already gone through several therapies. When her current regimen stops working, she'll move on to another.
I hope one day we'll be able to tell a patient with metastatic disease that we can cure them. We're not there yet.
I am going to die of breast cancer, unless I'm hit by a bus. I'll die of breast cancer, but I am determined to be here for as long as I can for my family.
No matter what it takes. Dr. Malika Marshall, CBS News, Boston.
Patient care tends to get worse after a hospital is bought by a private equity firm. A study from Harvard Medical Center indicates patients are more likely to fall, get new infections, and experience other forms of harm, even though the hospitals are performing fewer procedures and typically see younger and less disadvantaged patients. Researchers called the findings alarming because it suggests hospitals focus more on the bottom line rather than safety. Owning a pet can help offset some verbal issues that happen to older adults who live alone. A study in JAMA Network Open finds pet ownership slows the decline of verbal memory and verbal fluency and might also slow cognitive decline. But for older adults who live with others, researchers say a pet did not provide the same benefits. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, our pet vet on call.
Hi, I'm Dr. Eva Dude from Parsons Pet Hospital. Coming up, we got a fun fact about reindeer.
And coming up in a bit, we'll talk about the future snowfall that we could be seeing and maybe even your New Year's Eve forecast, all coming up. Well, it sure has been a winter day for the 4 states. We saw some snowflakes here and there this afternoon, especially in southeastern Kansas and Missouri as well. Speaking of, let's take a look at our Indigo Sky Casino and Resort just west of Seneca, Missouri. Earlier, like I said, we had a couple of flurries. You can't really see that on the screen right here, but you can still see it on radar. Here's a low pressure system off to our east, and that has pushed south and eastward, and that was over our eastern counties quite a bit earlier. Stockton, you guys are still seeing a little bit of snowfall here and there. This isn't heavy precipitation by any means. Therefore, the accumulation levels are at a minimum, especially considering the temperatures hanging around in the above freezing range, not by much, just by a little bit. But because of that, road conditions pretty much clear for the most part as we head into this evening, and as after the sun sets, you're going to want to stay aware. Not to say that the roads will be impacted by then, but something to keep in mind heading into later on tonight, especially if you're leaving for work early in the morning. Keep that in mind. Temperatures right now in the mid to upper 30s, Lamar actually in 33, Stockton 35, Monette, you are at freezing at 32 right now, Pittsburgh 34 degrees. So like I said, just a hair above freezing, but that's just enough to melt that snow as it heads right towards the ground. It doesn't last very long, thankfully. Future feel-like temperatures, however, feeling in the 20s for a lot of us. Upper 20s, lower 30s, Lamar feeling like 30 as you wake up Thursday morning. Bella Vista 27, Fredonia 24. Yates Center also feeling like 24 degrees. So you're going to want to bundle up, bring those layers along with you if you have that early morning commute. Now, heading into the next 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, and even Friday, we'll see some sporadic rainfall, or snowfall here and there, but in terms of accumulation, anywhere from a trace to a half an inch for most of us. Even in portions of Oklahoma and Kansas, you pretty much won't see anything, if at all. A little further north, however, if you have any plans going towards the city for New Year's Eve, heading into that, you make sure that you're staying aware and driving carefully, giving yourself extra time if you're driving on those roads, just in case. Now, speaking of, we're ringing in the new year, 2024, on Sunday night. You'll see those temperatures in the 20s. We'll start out in the lower 30s, so it's going to be a cold one. Make sure that your plans are indoors as much as possible and bundle up if you go outdoors for some fireworks. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast. We've got cold temperatures in the 40s, upper 40s on Saturday. And then heading into the rest of the end of next week, we'll see upper 40s for our high, so just a little warmer. I guess we could take it at that point. We'll see some light showers along with that heading into the rest of the end of next week.
Very good. And Chloe Arroyo, by the way, welcome back. Some people will recall that you helped fill in for us a bit over the summer, and it's good to have you back now.
Thank you. So great to be here. Awesome.
Chloe, thanks. Coming up, if you're in the market to buy a house in the new year, we're going to have some tips to help you get the best deal. Topping today's Consumer Watch, the FDA says it's confirmed 82 cases of illnesses linked to lead contamination in recalled pouches of cinnamon applesauce. The majority of those impacted are very young, but also adults up to the age of 53 have been affected. The pouches were sold in the U.S. under the brands Wanabana, Weiss, and Schnucks. The FDA official says the contamination might have been an intentional act and those responsible will be held accountable. Frozen fish fillets that were sold at Whole Foods Market are being recalled due to an undeclared soy allergen. The recall applies to the 365 Whole Foods Market beer battered pollock and cod fillets. The fillets were sold nationwide between September 8th and December 22nd. The company says it has not received any reports of illnesses, but anyone who has an allergy or severe sensitivity to soy runs the risk of having a serious allergic reaction. The Fed appears to be ready to drop interest rates next year, giving sidelined first-time homebuyers hope that 2024 might be their best chance to finally get into the housing market. Reporter Cole Higgins has a look at what we can expect and tips if you're looking to buy.
After years of record prices, historically high mortgage rates, and massive market demand, some experts say sidelined first-time homebuyers could have more hope in 2024.
It's going to get cheaper going forward, but I'm not going to call it easy or less painful.
Economist Joe Brusuela says the Federal Reserve is poised to lower interest rates next year, which could make homes more affordable. According to the U.S. National Home Price Index released this week, house prices hit a new record high in October. That's when mortgage rates were above 7%, the highest levels in 23 years. That plus historically low inventory continued to push up home prices. So what can you do if you're looking to buy in 2024?
When you get back in the market, houses are going to come in when there's a lot of demand. They're going to go fast. Somebody else is going to be ready to move. You want that person to be you.
Real estate investor David Green has these 4 tips. 1, improve your financial position to increase your chances of getting a better loan, like paying off debt, saving more money, and improving your credit. 2, step up your market research. Get realistic and consider what you can actually afford and what your priorities are.
You can change everything about a house except where it's located. So really prioritize the houses in the areas that work the best for you, not the houses that look the best.
3, once you get your loan approved, get your loan officer and your realtor working together. And finally, consider waiting until winter time. That's when home sales traditionally slow down, so there will be less competition. For Consumer Watch, I'm Cole Higgins.
Amazon Prime customers can mark January 29th on their calendars for when they're going to begin to see ads while watching their favorite shows and movies. Amazon says the ads will allow them to, quote, continue investing in compelling content and keep increasing that investment over a long period of time. Customers do have the option of paying an additional $2.99 per month if they want to continue to watch Prime Video without seeing those commercials. Our pet vet on call. Next. Up next on the CBS Evening News, how an investigation into the consequences of Don't Ask, Don't Tell is finally helping veterans get the honor they deserve. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to have more on what kinds of holiday waste is recyclable and what's not. Plus, part 2 of our look at the history of Red Oak 2 in Jasper County and how it's preserving the legacy of artist Lowell Davis. And the Seneca Indians square off against Benton in the Neosho Holiday Classic. We're going to have the highlights. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. Well, now that Santa is back at the North Pole or on vacation, his reindeer have officially entered the off-season and returned to their usual lifestyle. Today, our pet vet on call has a fun fact for us about reindeer.
All deer and cow type animals have a leathery skin nose pad, except for the reindeer. The reindeer are so far up on the earth that there's so much snow and ice, and they have to root through that to get their food. So that helps them stay warm and prevents frostbite.
There you go. We invite questions from anyone. If you have a question, you just send it to petvet@koamtv.com. Dr. Eva Dudek from the Parsons Pet Hospital answers a different question, or as she did today, gives us a fun fact. It's every Wednesday on KOAM News at 5. You can also find answers to previous questions on our website. All right, let's check out our picks of the litter for the week. From the Joplin Humane Society, no reindeer, but we do have a puppy named Fish. He's a male shepherd mix, the black one there. And from the Southeast Kansas Humane Society, check out Wolfie. She's a 5-year-old female, mostly Alaska Malamute, but she's larger than most, and for good reason. After some DNA testing, the Humane Society says they determined that she is 23% gray wolf. The staff has spent 3 months socializing and training her, and due to her unique breed and characteristics, applicants are going to be reviewed and multiple meet and greets are going to be required before she leaves for a new family. If you're looking for a pet, why not check out your local Humane Society? 2 beautiful ones and unique ones. Of course, every pet is unique, but 2 great ones right there.
Wow.
Yeah, in the case of Wolfie, it's going to go to a home that doesn't have other pets. They
Yes.
don't think that she should be with any other pets, but she's a special animal that's going to go to a special home.
She sure is. She's an only child kind of dog.
I guess so.
There you go.
The weather, Chloe.
Absolutely. So next 3 days, be on the lookout for a couple sporadic flurries here and there. Nothing too much in terms of accumulation. And Sunday for New Year's Eve, could see a couple showers here and there, but nothing too significant for your plans.
Very good. Thanks for joining us. CBS Evening News is next. Of course, we're going to be right back here at 6. Let's make it a great evening.